Hello friends, how are you? I hope that you are fit and fine. I welcome you all to my online English channel. My name is Deshmukh Gajanan. My educational qualification is MA English B.Ed Net Set. The name of my channel is Journey of English. I am your friend, mentor and teacher. We are going to study English together. Today we are going to deal with a very good chapter of English grammar. The title of the chapter is Clauses. We will study the chapter with the help of PowerPoint. Without wasting the time, we would start to study the chapter. First of all, we will try to understand what a clause is. A group of words that contains a subject and a verb is called a clause. What does it mean? It means that a clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a predicate. Here you have to understand that clause is a group of words which has a subject and a predicate. तो यहाँ पे क्या है, clause का मतलब क्या है? ऐसे group of words जिसमें subject भी है और predicate भी है. And you know that predicate contains a verb. There are two kinds of clauses in English. They are independent clause and dependent clause. Independent clause is also known as principal clause and main clause. Dependent clause is called subordinate clause. तो यहाँ पे independent clause जो है उसको हम main clause या principal clause भी कह सकते हैं और dependent clause को हम subordinate clause भी कहते हैं. There is one example which you can see here on the screen. If you work hard you will be successful. तो यहाँ पे ध्यान दीजिए, ये जो सेंटेंस का जो फर्स्ट पार्ट है, इफ़ यू वर्क हार्ड इज़ एन एग्जाम्पल ऑफ अ डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज, और जो दूसरा पार्ट है यू विल बी सक्सेसफुल, यू विल बी सक्सेसफुल इज़ कॉल्ड एन इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज, या इसमें इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज क्या है, यू विल बी सक्सेसफुल. Now we will study this topic in detail with the help of slides. Types of clauses. Independent clause. An independent clause is a group of words that contains a subject and a predicate. It can stand alone as a complete sentence. It can convey the meaning on its own. तो independent clause या main clause क्या है, मतलब उसमें subject रहता है और predicate रहता है. And we can say that independent clause can convey the meaning on its own. It doesn't require the support of any other clause. तो यहाँ पे ध्यान दीजिए, there are two statements which you can see on the screen. The first statement is Raju is a good student. Raju is a good student is an example of an independent clause. My mother looks after our family. Now we will study about the dependent clauses or subordinate clauses. A dependent clause has a subject and a predicate. It cannot convey the meaning on its own. It needs the help of main clause to convey the meaning. What do you have to understand here? You have to understand that main clause can convey the meaning on its own. On the contrary, subordinate clause or dependent clause cannot convey the meaning on its own. Dependent clause requires the help of main clause to convey the meaning. Look at the statements. The first statement, I think that I shall win the competition. तो यहाँ पे ध्यान दीजिए, the underlined part is an example of a dependent clause. यहाँ पे जो अंडरलाइन पार्ट है उसको हम डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज कहते हैं. फर्स्ट स्टेटमेंट में वो क्या है, दैट आई शैल विन द कॉम्पिटिशन. क्योंकि आप इस स्टेटमेंट को केयरफुली देखिए, ऑब्जर्व द स्टेटमेंट केयरफुली. दैट आई शैल विन द कॉम्पिटिशन कैन नॉट कन्वे द मीनिंग ऑन इट्स ओन. इट रिक्वायर्स द असिस्टेंस और हेल्प ऑफ द मेन क्लॉज. और यहाँ पे मेन क्लॉज क्या है, आई थिंक है. आई थिंक इज़ द मेन क्लॉज हियर. तो आई थिंक जो है वो सेपरेट, मतलब इफ़ वी सेपरेट द मेन क्लॉज कैन कन्वे द मीनिंग. but if we separate the dependent clause from a main or independent clause, then dependent clause cannot convey the meaning on its own. Look at the second sentence, my brother helped us when we were in trouble. तो यहाँ पे भी क्या है, when we were in trouble is a dependent clause, और my brother helped us वो क्या है, वो main clause या independent clause है. I met a lady who was tall, यहाँ पे क्या है, I met a lady जो है वो independent clause है, और who was tall जो है that is a dependent clause. There are I told you earlier that there are two main clauses in English. They are independent clause and dependent clause. Again, you have to remember that there are three kinds or types of dependent clause. So, which are those three types of dependent clauses? You can see them on the screen: noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause. So, what is meant by a noun clause? We will try to know it in a better way. A group of words which contains a subject and a predicate of its own and does the work of a noun in a sentence is called noun clause. तो यहाँ पे noun clause का मतलब क्या है? What does it mean? Actually noun clause क्या है? Dependent clause का एक type है, और noun clause में क्या रहता है? Subject रहता है और predicate रहता है, और नाउन क्लॉज सेंटेंस में नाउन की जगह पे आता है. ओके, इट डज द वर्क मीन्स नाउन क्लॉज डज द वर्क ऑफ अ नाउन इन अ सेंटेंस और स्टेटमेंट. लुक एट द फर्स्ट सेंटेंस, राजू फियर्स दैट ही विल स्कोर लेस मार्क्स इन द एग्जामिनेशन. इन दिस स्टेटमेंट राजू फियर्स इज द मेन क्लॉज, और जो अंडरलाइन पार्ट जो है दैट इज अ डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज. The type of dependent clause is noun clause. Why? Because here the underlined sentence or part of the sentence is playing the role of a noun. Look at the second sentence, I know that my business will be successful. I know is an independent clause, और जो रिमेनिंग पोर्शन है उस रिमेनिंग जो पार्ट है उस स्टेटमेंट का जो अंडरलाइन किया है, दैट माई बिजनेस विल बी सक्सेसफुल is a noun clause. Look at the third statement, I do not understand what you are talking about. Here what you are talking about is a dependent clause. Its type is noun clause. Now we will study adjective clauses. What is the definition of an adjective clause? How can you identify an adjective clause? So see here, a group of words which contains a subject and a predicate of its own and does the work of an adjective in a sentence is called an adjective clause. तो adjective clause क्या है? Actually it contains a subject and a predicate of its own. It does the work of an adjective in the given sentence. Look at the sentences which I have written here. The girl who sits near me is my sister. Here the underlined part, who sits near me, is a dependent clause. It is an adjective clause. Why? Because it is giving us more information about a noun girl. I hope that you have understood it very well, my dear friends. Now look at the second statement, boys who eat junk food fall sick. तो यहाँ पे क्या है, boys fall sick जो है that is an independent clause, और जो underlined clause है that is a dependent clause. मतलब यहाँ पे who eat junk food जो है वो क्या है, वो dependent clause है, और उसका जो type है वो क्या है, adjective clause है, क्योंकि वो जो underlined part है जैसे कि who eat junk food is providing us more information about the noun boys, and we know that an adjective is a word which gives us more information about the nouns. Look at the third sentence, this is the ground where we can play together. Here this is the ground is an independent clause, where we can play together is a dependent clause, और उसका जो type है वो adjective clause है. Now look at this slide. We are going to study adverb clause. What does it mean? What is meant by an adverb clause? A group of words which contains a subject and a predicate of its own and does the work of an adverb in a sentence is called an adverb clause. So here the definition is very clear. The definition plainly tells us that an adverb clause is one which has a subject and a predicate of its own and does the work of an adverb in a sentence. Look at the examples which you can see on the screen. As soon as the bell rang, the students came out of the library. Here the underlined part is a dependent clause. Its type is an adverb clause, or in other words we can say that it is an adverb clause. और यहाँ पे जो remaining part है sentence का, the students came out of the library is the main clause. It is also known as an independent clause. और यहाँ पे there is one thing which you have to remember in your mind while identifying the dependent clauses. Dependent clauses begin with subordinating conjunctions. तो यहाँ पे आपको एक चीज़ ध्यान में रखने की है, मतलब जो डिपेंडेंट क्लॉजेज जो है वो सबऑर्डिनेटिंग कंजंक्शन से स्टार्ट या बिगिन होते हैं. As she was ill, she stayed at home. Here the underlined part is an adverb clause. She stayed at home is an independent clause. Ramesh went home after he finished his lunch. In this particular sentence, Ramesh went home is the main clause, or we can call it principal clause also. We can also call it as an independent clause. और जो रिमेनिंग पार्ट है सेंटेंस का, आफ्टर ही फिनिश्ड हिज लंच, दिस इज द वी कैन से डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज. इट इज़ एन एडवर्ब क्लॉज. I hope that you must have understood the chapter completely. If you are having any queries or doubts regarding the chapter, you can send me your valuable messages and feedback. Once again, I sincerely appeal all of you to subscribe my channel. My channel will help you a lot in learning English. Thanks for watching the video. Have a good day, everyone.